let us talk upon the topic of Legends. So, Legends, those that don't know, is where units go to die. It's kind of that state between living and death. It's limbo, or at least it is currently. So, Warhammer Legends, to be less artistic, or maybe autistic, Legends is basically what happens when GW no longer wants to make models
Forward,
for a unit,
dogs, to victory!
But they kind of know it's quite a popular unit and that quite a lot of people have the unit in their collection, or maybe for some other reason they give it a Legends datasheet. And Legends datasheet basically means it's not going to be the codex anymore. So things tend to go to Legends between codexes. So a lot of stuff for the Guard, especially a lot of the Forge World stuff, went to Legends and didn't make it into the main codex. And essentially, they say it's no longer suitable for match play. We're no longer going to be updating its rules. We're no longer going to be FAQing it. We're no longer going to be balancing in any way, shape, or form. And as far as we're concerned, whilst you have a datasheet for it, that datasheet isn't suitable for competitive or matched play. Now, I personally, and I think a lot of other players, when this whole Legend system was first sort of announced, a lot of it started coming in around 8th, 9th edition, but it's really, really ramped up in 10th edition. But when this first started being announced, myself and a lot of other people were like, okay, well, if it can't be used competitively, then basically I'm not going to use it. And so even though these things have data sheets, it's almost like they get the mark. It's almost like they get tainted, the taint of Legends. And GW sort of removes them from the web store. They're not in the main codex. They go to Legends, and there's this sort of attempt of them saying, "Oh, they're not really gone. They're not really gone. You know, it's fine. They're still Legends." But for the last decade, basically, if something's gone to Legends, it's gone. For all intents and purposes, cutting through the shit, cutting through the pandering from Games Workshop, for all intents and purposes, it's gone. And at first, I think most people kind of accepted this, because GW was Legendsing a few bits round the edges here and there. A lot of people saw it as consolidating rather than necessarily getting rid of stuff. So if you had maybe it was something like Finecast, and it was yeah, maybe no one really buys you because in Finecast, and the plastic versions come out now. So will Legends, will Legends Vanguard veterans, for example, or will Legend the old Sternguard veterans, but now we've got the new Sternguard veterans. You see what I mean? There's a whole bunch of it where they were we're getting rid of the old kit. It's getting a Legends data sheet, and there's kind of a replacement, or a near as damn it, a replacement of the unit. It's fairly easy to transition this over. You will, I think a good example of this is when, not a good example, an example off the top of my head is you have a lot of Krieg Grenadiers. Krieg Grenadiers are currently a Legends unit, but most people weren't bothered when the Grenadiers went to Legends because they just went, well, I'll just use them as Kazakin instead. Technically, they've got a Legends datasheet, but Krieg Grenadiers being used as Kazakin is just accepted. There's an easy transition over there. That's how Legends started. Little bits here and there going away, but we can use our units as something else, so it's not the end of the world. But that's not where it is now. Over the course of the last 3 editions, when things started going to Legends, by the way, a few shout outs here, a few notable exceptions here. There were a few times when GW Legends entire factions. This happened from the transition from 7th to 8th edition, when all of the Renegade Renegades and Heretics, the whole faction got squatted. Renegades and Heretics, you're gone. And then we had the same thing happen with Elysian drop troops, you're gone. Now, to be fair, you probably could start using those as like Imperial Guard or as cultists or something, but still, these were quite expensive. So there were lots of little bits that got trimmed, but there was the occasional like things went. And this did upset some people, but I think it's important to understand that it didn't upset a lot of people because these were mostly like Forge World armies. It wasn't a main, for lack of a better term, it wasn't a main studio army. It was a niche army. It wasn't this. It wasn't like they axed the Imperial Guard, and there was definitely an element of, well, your Legion drop troops can probably get used as regular Imperial Guard. Yes, it won't be quite the same, but they can probably get used as that. But there were a few I think it's important to note that whilst a lot of it was little bits getting trimmed, there was already worrying signs of GW being willing to use a big axe. Over the course of 8th edition, 9th edition, we saw quite a bit of stuff getting Legends, but it always felt like if something went to Legends, you could pivot. You could find another home for it. You know, a Sentinel Powerlifter could become a regular Sentinel. A Krieg Grenadier could become a Scion. One kind of Dreadnought could become another kind of Dreadnought, that kind of stuff. But 10th edition is when things really ramped up. There is a reason why 10th edition is widely nicknamed as the edition of loss, because GW really ramped up things going to Legends. And on top of that, not only did they ramp things up going to Legends, but they actually started doing something which we hadn't seen before, at least. And please correct me if I'm wrong. If you're watching this live, correct me in chat. If you're watching me, if this is a stream highlight, let me know down in the comment section. But we hadn't seen them just outright remove stuff. But in 10th edition, not only did we see things getting Legends, but we saw things just being outright removed. And this happened again and again and again. And what's kind of crazy is not only was it became very obvious that GW was basically just axing all of the Forge World stuff, although they were willing to make exceptions. They weren't. I think what kind of pisses some people off is the fact that it's not fair. It's not equals pequals, because they got rid of like all the Forge World shit except for Custodians who were allowed to keep theirs. What do you accept? Because that's kind of like GW saying the quiet part out loud. Oh, if we legend certain things, if we get rid of all of Forge World, then it's going to completely cripple some factions. Yeah. What you're saying is when you remove people's models, it can cause issues. But for some reason, Custodians for some reason, which you could probably explain, the Custodians get a pass. Where you kind of, like I said, you're kind of giving the game away there a little bit. But then we started, but not only were things from Forge World getting Legends, but then we saw things from the main books getting Legends as well. And typically this was stuff that was in Finecast, but also we were seeing like plastic kits, relatively new. We're talking plastic kits that have been around in the last decade, things getting removed. And GW doing like crazy things like getting rid of one Stern Guard veteran kit just to bring them back, but this time with like limited options. Yeah. Small Hornet. I kept counting the web store from summer 24 till now. Forge has gone from 150 to 41 items. Yeah. I mean, look at the Imperial Guard alone. When the GW website was two separate things, you had the Forge website and you had the Games Workshop website. I remember distinctly, like, the Imperial Guard section of the Forge World website had like it was like 340 items or something insane. So many kits. And then I remember, like, I think it was mid 9th edition, I did like a video, or I mentioned for the first time we've seen the guard, the number of units available for the guard drop below like 100. Yeah. So the point is, we've seen things really, really ramp up. And the point I'm trying to make here with this big, long-winded intro, we've kind of over-egged the pudding with explaining what Legends is. I think we as a community need to reassess our position on Legends. Because I think it was fine to say, oh, well, it's gone to Legends, so we're not going to use it anymore. That's it. It's got the taint. We're not going to use it. I think that was fine when it was happening on a relatively small scale to relatively obscure units. But when you're having things like the infantry squad, a unit which has been part of the guard for 25, 30 years, just being removed. And you might say it's not a big deal. It is a big deal, the infantry squad going away. The number of times when I've been building lists for my 10th Guard army, I've just been like, fuck, I really, really wish I could stick a las cannon in this unit. It would really solve a lot of problems for me right now if I could bring some anti-tank in my squads without having to try and rely upon friggin' Melter and friggin' Plasma to get the job done. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's really starting to piss me off how much I'm struggling with getting my Guard Infantry Corps to do what I want it to do. So anyway, not to get distracted, that's a whole separate topic. But I think so much has gone to Legends now that we need to reassess our position on this, because so many people's collections and so many parts of people's collections have been invalidated. And I think it's getting to the point now where it's kind of hard to pivot. It's kind of hard to say, oh, well, this can count as this. We're getting to that realm now where we can't just keep improvising, adapting, and overcoming. Look at the Space Wolves, for example. Now, the Space Wolf models are absolutely beautiful, but you can't take any special weapon options on Blood Claws. You can't take any special weapon options on Grey Hunters. That's a lot of plasma guns. That's a lot of models. Those models can't go anywhere. They're just completely invalidated. We're getting a lot of... what about the... you can say you can use Long Fangs of Devastators. They're not going to be long for this world because Devastators, you know, are going to go when Firstborn go. You know that's going to happen. I think it's getting to that. And what happens when Firstborn go? Jesus Christ, man. You know, what happens when my 100 Black Templar Tactical Marines, well, Black Templar OG Crusaders, what happens when they don't make the cut anymore? Like, huge parts of people's collections are getting invalidated. And like we said, it's not just weird, obscure Forge World, weird, obscure Fancast shit that's going now. It's relatively new stuff. It's plastic. We're seeing plastic go to Legends now, which is more often than not, we're seeing plastic go to Legends now. And I no longer think it's okay to say if it goes to Legends, it's unusable. I think we need to change that attitude. GW keeps telling us, it's okay, it's got a Legends datasheet. You know, it kind of sounds crazy, but maybe we should take them at their word. Why can't I use Legends in a friendly game at home? There's this element of this big element. It's not even an element anymore. It's an entirety. It's a total thing. Competitive play leads casual play. That's what I've said for years. I don't even think you can say that anymore. Competitive play is casual play. The competitive scene, the match play scene has devoured, has absorbed, has completely supplanted casual play. The default way of playing now, and it could be argued this is always the default way of playing, but it's just now it's out in the open. The default way of playing is we're playing match play, we're playing primary objectives, secondary objectives, 2,000 points, rule of 3, mission cards, all that kind of shit. Like everybody, 99%, I won't say everybody, To use a scientific term, greater than 95% of people, I would say, play match play as their go-to form of playing. So I think the problem is that if we accept that competitive play and match play are sort of linked now, then that means we kind of have to accept that this idea of legends still being okay, this legends being limited to casual play, limited to not matched play, for lack of a better term, I think we need to reassess that. Because there's no casual play left over anymore. Everyone's playing matched play. I mean, people keep doing Crusade, but honestly, Crusade is such a tiny, tiny part of 40k. It is. I play a lot of 40k. I talk to a lot of people. I have hundreds of people who join these streams every day. I can remember maybe a dozen people in all of that time who have told me about a Crusade campaign that they've done. Think of it this way. In the stream yesterday alone, we must have had 4-5 people talk about the tournaments they went to that weekend. No one talked about the Crusade matches they've been doing. I actually kind of enjoy it when someone tells me about a Crusade they're doing because it happens so infrequently. I'm just like, ooh, you did a bit of Crusade. Ooh, interesting. I have no fucking clue what that is, but it sounds cool. So casual play, what Legends was created for, to allow you to keep using your mods in casual play, I don't think that's fit for purpose anymore. I think like I said it once, said it a million times, I'll keep saying it, we need to reassess how we think about Legends units. And frankly, I think it's time to let them back in. With a big caveat. I think it should become acceptable, utterly, totally, without any issue whatsoever, without any questions, without it even being mentioned. You shouldn't even go, oh, is that a Legends unit? Or I'm bringing a Legend. You shouldn't even mention it. It should just be, this is my list. I think Legends should be totally okay for all games, including matched play games, outside of a tournament. So when you are going to an official competitive environment, and you might say, but Mordian, they are. No one's stopping you. No one is stopping me. But there is this, it's not a rules change that I'm asking for. It's not a rules change that I'm proposing. It's a mentality shift. And getting people, especially wargamers, to change their minds is very, very difficult. The one thing we hate more than change is things not changing. But I think we just need to go, Legends is okay for match play. I think we now need to, what I'm saying is, there's no longer matched play and casual play. There's no such thing as casual play anymore. Now what we need to move the goalposts a bit. We need to, move the goalposts is kind of seen as a negative term. We need to redefine, reassess, and I think we need to go, there's no longer match play and casual play in any significant quantities. There's just match play and competitive play. Let's just be honest with it. And matched play is where we still play 2,000 points Strike Force as the standard. Match play is still where we do primary missions. We're still where we do secondary missions. It's still where we play the game that we know and love. But Legends is allowed. I think we need to update we need to go, Legends is okay for match play, but it's not okay for competitive play. That's where I think we need to go to. That needs to be acceptable. Because you might be like, but more if it's not okay for tournaments, then no one's going to use it. That's not true. Not every single game that somebody plays is preparation for a tournament. It's something that I've had to learn over the last 3 years. As someone who is very, very tournament focused, it's very easy for me to have my blinkers on and for me to not see the bigger picture. But the reality of the situation is that the majority of people don't play in tournaments. The majority of people play matched play, but the majority of people don't play match tournaments. Don't play tournaments is what I'm talking about. This weekend on BCP, time of recording, there were 1,400 people registered playing at tournaments in Warhammer 40k. Do you think that represented every single person in the world that played Warhammer 40k this weekend? Of course not. I bet tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people played Warhammer 40k across the world. A tiny percentage of them chose to play in tournaments or were registered to play in tournaments. This is the big difference. I think Legends needs to become matched play acceptable. I think that they should still be excluded from tournaments. And this is the mentality shift that I am proposing. Because you can't have them for tournaments because they're not part of the constant balance. They're not part of the constant tweaks. But and obviously, and some of them, I think the interesting thing is, I think most Legends units are probably not very good because their points costs do tend to come down a lot over time. And so, if you look at the Malkador, I think it's like 300 points for a Malkador, and you compare that to a Rogue Dawn, like, why the fuck would you ever take a Malkador? It's a good question. But the point is it should just become Legends become match. I think we need to update the terms. There's no longer match play and narrative play. It's match play and competitive play, and Legends should be allowed in match play. And this solves something which we haven't even touched upon yet. It solves one of the biggest complaints that we hear about online. When people criticize 10th edition, if people are asked to say what's the negative about 10th edition, or what are the pros and cons, when they say pros, they tend to say the game is, generally speaking, more balanced than it ever has been before. They tend to say the game is more popular than it ever has been before. It's anyone who's got a little bit sick of 40k and has gone into another game system like Bolt Action or Orbital will tell you it's actually sometimes like you want to get into those game systems, but there's no one around you that plays. It's actually kind of difficult. You come to appreciate how accessible 40k is. But one of the biggest cons that people have is that the game changes too much. People say that the pace of change is too much. I think making Legends acceptable for matched play and having this mentality shift and also having a bit of a statement come from GW. Because GW at the moment say they're not acceptable for match play. GW going, they're acceptable for match play, but not for competitive play. I think we need that coming from not only the community, I think we need it coming from Games Workshop. I think that solves the biggest complaint of 10th edition. Because if you're someone that is sick and tired of the change of the pace of change, then Legends is literally perfect for you. Because GW has said, we're not updating it. We're not updating it at all. It's there. It's yours. It's not changing. Do with it what you will. It literally solves one of the biggest complaints that exists in 10th edition right now. And the funny thing is that it doesn't fuck up the balance. Because 40k balance is around competitive play. And you can still say to your friends, I'm practicing for, or those of us who want to practice for tournaments, we can still go, okay, so we're not going to use Legends today because this is a tournament practice game. But for everyone who is never going to go to a tournament, it doesn't fuck with the balance. Because balance is for competitive play. That's where it really matters. being roughly balanced is decent for is decent enough for match play. Some people might push back on that. That's fair enough. But I think if we have to decide where balance is most important, I think balance is most important at the competitive play. And if we're being realistic, like I said, most Legends units are inferior because they haven't kept up with the change of pace. So I don't think adding them back in is a huge problem. So long story short, Legends started off as a place for obscure units to go and die. There was this lip service to them not dying, but everyone kind of just accepted that they died. However, many years later, so many units have gone to Legends now that it's actually having quite a significant impact on people's collections. 10th edition is considered an edition of loss, and it's got to the point now where there's so much stuff in Legends that I don't think and a lot of that, and it's no longer affecting obscure niche stuff, it is affecting fundamental units of factions. See things like Space Wolves, see things like Imperial Guard, and so see things like Blood Angels with Librarius Dreadnoughts, right? And so I think it's got to the point where we can no longer... Also, we have to accept that there's no real such thing as casual play anymore. It's now match play and competitive play make up greater than 95% of basically Warhammer 40k. So with the environment changing, with the units that are being Legends changing, I think it's now time for a rethink. And that rethink is basically Legends comes to match play, but they're still excluded from competitive play. And this means that this has an added bonus of people that struggle with the change of pace now have an option where they can field units which aren't constantly changing. I think it genuinely, I don't think it's a silver bullet, but I think it is a necessary change. It's a mentality shift that needs to come from the community. And I think also it is I think we need that nod from Games Workshop. I think we need that nod. Because if I may, that's the summary. If I may have one last thought. Whilst 40k is ever growing and ever expanding and people are enjoying the game, I do worry that we are seeing a little bit of a downturn in certain areas. And I don't think you can keep fucking with people forever. I think you can fuck with people a lot for a long time, but I don't think you can keep fucking with people forever. And at the end of the day, it's a free update and it's a free win for GW. They don't have to do anything but release a Warhammer community article. Anyway, at least that's what I think. But of course, all of this is like my opinion, man. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bonbon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.